We got a video over here. How America got so stupid. I would go so far to say it's not only about America. How is it that people nowadays at least feel more stupider than before? I think, and now before we even delve into the video, not pre-watched, number one, technology, which is so convenient that it basically stops you from thinking most of the time. Like, why would you bother finding how to do something when you can just ask ChatGPT? Number one. Number two, social media makes it look like there's way more stupid people there than there are. Because back in the days, you didn't have such a high volume of information at your disposal than we have today. So now you can actually see how many stupid people are there, and also keep in mind those stupid people are way more vocal and entertaining. So obviously everybody was gonna focus on watching them rather than a normal civilized human being because he's boring.
This dislike ratio. I make a video praising the Soviet Union and nobody bats an eye. I make a video praising the United States and everybody loses their minds. Okay, fine. I hear you.
They do.
You only want to hear things that confirm what you already believe. I get it.
Yes, so that goes with my third point, basically, that you want to hear. You're incentivized to create content for people in order to, basically confirm their beliefs already, right?
Let's talk about why Americans are stupid.
I don't think it's necessarily only Americans. I think it's a general thing. I think it's a general thing. We're exaggerating. I don't think Americans have it worse than, I don't know, Romanians or Dutch people, so on and so forth. Maybe the only aspect you could consider that might be playing a role in having a slight difference between those two is the education system. I mean, I don't think US has the best education system, but definitely not the worst either.
The Jimberly Kimberly live show where clueless residents of Los Angeles fail to name a single country.
Is it South Africa?
Yeah, the country.
Do you believe that 50 years ago there weren't people like this? They were. There were always people that don't know countries. Also, why would you need to know what country is your neighbor when you can ask ChatGPT for it?
Asia,
Greenland, or
Asia. Okay.
Iceland or something.
Although these are no doubt cherry-picked, and I'm sure if you stood in a big city all day and shoved a camera in people's faces and asked them questions, you'd be able to find 3 minutes worth of people who couldn't answer on the spot.
Exactly. Yeah, those are also, again, those videos of you finding people that are stupid. Do you think they just filmed stupid people? The 300 people they asked around and interviewed, 300 of them were stupid. I think out of the 300 they found 10, and only these 10 were the focus of the content that they released to the public, because those 10 are the interesting ones. Meanwhile, the people that actually know to answer the questions, was the point of showing them off? There's no point.
Miss, for $1, name a woman.
Name a woman?
Yeah.
Me.
But the stereotype that Americans are ignorant about the wider world is largely true. These people can't name a country because they don't care about other countries.
Yeah.
40% of Americans have a passport, compared to 66% of Canadians and 76% of Brits. In 1994, it was only 10% of Americans.
I mean, you also have to consider that America is a big country. It's, 50 states. So, and they have their different flavor. It's like you can think of US to Europe. Like, it's a conglomerate of states that basically each have different culture. So, as long as you can move through each one of those, that can already cover a lot of, of your exploratory enthusiasm. You don't necessarily need to leave the country. You can just go to another state and see how things are there.
But that doesn't mean Americans have gotten more globe-trotting since then. It was because after an above-average episode of the news, it became mandatory to need a passport when entering Canada and Mexico. So it's fair to say that a very small percent of Americans will be leaving this corner of the world.
Which I think is a bad thing, in my opinion. It's good to look at other cultures and figure out whether or not your country is far superior as you were told when you were young. Because I just watched a video previously about an American going to UK and being very satisfied with the conditions there, and he wouldn't know about that if he didn't take his time to go with his university through these programs, the incentives to go and travel to another country. And I recommend people to try to expand their horizon at least while they're young, because when you got a job, that's gonna get much harder.
As I said in a previous video, America has all you'd ever want geographically within her borders.
Exactly.
Why go anywhere else? The foreign cultures, maybe? Americans don't care about that either.
No.
On the list of the highest grossing movies in the USA, you have to go all the way to 520th place to get a movie that isn't American. It's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, by the way. Couldn't even beat The Nutty Professor. Somebody please check up on Ang Lee. I think he might have killed himself. Neither do global affairs hold the average American's interest. When asked about the Kyoto Climate Accords, who the Taliban are, or who Nicolas Sarkozy is, Americans are woefully underinformed compared to other developed nations. In 2009, only half knew that last year's Olympics were held in Beijing. Oh, but of course, when asked to name American celebrities, they had no trouble at all.
Obviously.
At the same time, we non-Americans are flooded with American culture. Some British people know more about American politics and history than their own.
Once you're dropped into the trench, depth or the z-axis is...
It's Z-axis, you floppy-haired moron. France had to pass laws banning radio stations from playing too much American music.
I mean, their culture is very entertaining, you know. They have a lot of drama going on around. It's just food, you know, junk food for the brain. You know, they got the best type of junk food.
There are only 2 countries in the world where Coca-Cola is not sold.
It's a crime. It's a crime. You cannot drink Coca-Cola in those countries. For real.
Wait, scratch that. This journalist from Finland bought a Coke at a water park in Pyongyang in 2017. And what's this hiding in the background of somebody's holiday snaps at the National Hotel de Cuba? Look, you know something's up when remote tribesmen in the Amazon rainforest who don't even have electricity know who Michael Jackson is.
I mean, he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT. Can argue against that. He's the best pop star ever in the history of forever. Basically, he's the legend.
Americans used to be quite well read. After the Second World War, Americans consumed 63% of all the newspapers in the world, and they used this to their advantage. In 1948, the newly formed United Nations created...
Yeah, but those were all like... You didn't have TikTok back in the days, number one. Number two, the economy wasn't as shit as it is today, so you could actually work only 40 hours a week and enjoy your pastime reading the newspaper. Nowadays, you gotta work to yourself to the bone because you never know when you're gonna end up on the streets. Have you thought about that?
Created a list of human rights that all countries should strive to uphold. One area that Americans were particularly interested in was this one, Article 19. Everyone has the right to freedom of expression and opinion, and receive and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers.
Okay.
What the USA wanted was a completely level playing field. Anyone can buy any media from any other country. A global free market of ideas, released from the shackles of censorship. For if anyone can gain access to the truth, we cannot be marched into the same kind of ignorance and intolerance that characterized the Axis nations of the war. This is admirable.
Ignorance. Ignorance. How the tables have turned. If you look around everybody, ignorance is a core attribute, I would say, of human beings. If you are not at least a bit of an ignorant person, you just go insane, because the truth is very harsh. That's the reality of it, and people cannot take it, you know, easily. So they go towards distractions, and they're in this blissful state of constant ignorance, because if they one moment take a moment of their day to focus on what their life is, they'll just be dissatisfied immediately. That's a psychological thing about about the human nature in general. So think about it like that. Even if you were a king, and I'm not talking necessarily about US, if you were a king and you would be left alone to your thoughts in a room with nothing around, uh, basically the theory is that you just go crazy, because you would realize that life is meaningless at the end of it all. There's no point.
Freedom of speech is a core value of the United States and many other allied nations. But some delegates, like those from India, questioned the US's motives. If you believe in an equal access to information and culture, shouldn't you redistribute some of your media creating capacity to developing nations like ours, so that we have an equal opportunity to tell the world our stories?
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Why should it be my responsibility to take care of your country? So what is this? You want me to be charitable? That's kind of fucked up. It's like a homeless person saying, you know, all the people that have a house and have money, they should the responsibility of paying me change every day they cross me by. What? Get your own job, dude. The reason you're in that position is because you chose to be in it, okay? Don't make excuses for it. Life sucks and it's not fair. That I can agree with you. But it doesn't mean that now everybody has to look at you and give you money. Have you thought for 1 second that it's unfair for them as well? Come on.
Americans would not budge. Of course, they knew deep down that India was right. The American delegation to the convention was highly populated by journalists and media magnates. They knew that if countries couldn't afford their own news, they would be increasingly reliant on buying news from American wire companies like the Associated Press, which was good for both the media companies' profits, but also the US State Department, who would no doubt have been licking their lips at the prospect of 1 billion people reading news with a specific American spin on it.
Yeah.
In 1944,
smart.
the Associated Press sold news to 38 countries. Within 8 years, that had doubled to 70 countries.
Let's go.
In the 1950s, around half of films shown in European and Asian cinemas were American, 2/3 in Mexico, Brazil, and Argentina. Which makes sense. Americans made grand Technicolor films brimming with Hollywood stars.
I mean, why do you think they watched them? Was it because they were American? No. The reason for them was they were good, entertaining, something to do in your spare time to enjoy. Wow. If any other country did that as good as the Americans do, it wouldn't have been any issues. The issues they had the monopoly because they were the best.
Because they could afford to. Whereas war-torn Europe, impoverished Mexico, and nuclear-obliterated Japan were stuck making small-scale comedies to keep up morale. One of the most popular French movies in 40s France was 1949's The Big Day, a mostly plotless movie where a whimsical French postman gets into wacky mischief in a quaint village. There just wasn't the money or resources for anything else. Hollywood captured the European public's imagination, and they wanted more. But why is it only a one-way street?
What is the argument here? That they should have donated some money to other countries so they can publish their own movies? Bro, what are you talking about? Why should they have it been their responsibility to do so? I'm repeating myself, but it sounds ridiculous to me.
Because while you can do or say whatever you want within the United States, the Constitution also says that the American government can regulate what goes in or out. During the Cold War, anything that might be considered communist propaganda could be seized by the post office and never delivered. Books or even souvenirs from communist countries, for example. Pamphlets criticizing US foreign policy. Immigration reached a low point in the early 70s, with only 4.7% of Americans being foreign-born, limiting Americans' interaction with different cultures. Obviously, it wasn't totally like North Korea.
Is that a bad thing? I mean, look at it nowadays. Probably the percent now is going crazy, and I can give you a few examples: Germany, UK, France, where things are not going that, swimmingly because of the immigration policies and all that bullshit.
Plenty of foreign movies and music were allowed into the US, but the media that caught on was either already Americanized or so plastically exotic that it doesn't really say anything about the culture.
The issue I have with going back, I need to. I don't have issue with immigration. I have the issue with integration of said immigrants. They do not want to integrate into the culture. Therefore, they isolate themselves within that culture and try to, increase their area of influence of their own culture within that existing culture, which is fucked up. Just integrate within the culture. Nobody will complain. The issue is you don't wanna put an effort into doing so. And I don't care about your excuses, blah blah blah, discrimination and all that. Hey, you went there, you knew what you were up for. Just play, but it's like a player that comes into your board game meeting and decides, you know what, I'm gonna play the game the way I learned it at my place. And you're like, bro, you came into my house and now we have to play by your rules. Excuse me, get the fuck out of my house.
To where it's from. The Beatles were British, yes, but they got their start covering American rock and roll musicians. When John Lennon stepped out of line, the American government made sure that he knew it. Movies imported from Japan were mostly samurai flicks, and very few movies set in the modern day. The film Ikiru is widely considered the best Japanese film ever made, if you ignore people who have never felt the touch of a woman. But this existential drama about a depressed, lonely man was only given a limited release in California, and the poster was edited to feature a stripper who is only in the movie for like 1 minute. The narrow stream of European movies that made it into the USA came in the form of the French New Wave cinema, movies that were stylistically inspired by American films, but also so stuffy that few audiences would ever want to watch them anyway.
Qu'est-ce que ça peut te faire?
Ça ne va pas, non?
Non, rien. Je voulais dire cette phrase avec une idée précise. Je ne savais pas quelle était la meilleure façon d'exprimer cette idée. Ou plutôt, je le savais. Maintenant, je
ADHD.
ne sais plus.
This was further stifled by the Hays Code, a set of extremely strict regulations that were in place from 1934 to 1968. If you've ever wondered why old black and white films seem so dry, it's because of these rules. Some things that were completely banned from ever being shown in any film included bad guys winning. All movies had to end with the police outwitting the evil criminals or the criminals causing their own demise. Any nudity, even the silhouette of a booba, is an instant ban. Blood or dead bodies. When people get shot in old films, they usually just clutch the wound, but no actual blood is seen. Pointing a gun at somebody in the same frame.
Okay.
This is why guns are always held.
Okay, so there's a lot of censorship from other culture into America, and I guess his point is they're just staying in their own bubble and don't get diversified. That's kind of a far fetch from, the way people are nowadays. I don't think it's the lack of multiculturalism. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. That people are so dumb. I think that's a low priority characteristic in the whole spectrum. Like I said, technology, the focus of children is decreasing with each day. I mean, have you asked your friends if any of them have ADHD? You'd be surprised how many of them do not have ADHD. It's gonna be like 1 or 2, because the rest of them, they all have it. They have a spectrum of ADHD, obviously. I had this talk with some of my neighbors when I lived in Netherlands. God, man, it's like one pops off and says I have ADHD of this degree. The other one says, oh, wait a minute, I also have ADHD, and it all became a conversation about who has the strongest type of ADHD. Like it was a sort of a competition. It was insane.
Held at waist height. Kissing for longer than 3 seconds.
Really? That I can agree with that. Kissing is cringe. Kissing is cringe.
Interracial couples, white people as slaves, criticism of religion or of any other country. Naturally, this prevented the more artistically liberal European films from being shown in American cinemas, and when they did get a US release, they were usually edited to remove the violence in movies and sex on TV to comply with the good old-fashioned values. At least until the rules were abolished in 1968 and replaced by the age rating system we have today.
Okay.
Even as the Cold War ended and the internet gave Americans unparalleled access to the rest of the world and all of human knowledge, they still preferred to hang out on a handful of American-made websites dominated by Americans.
Yeah, but if you look at the competition, what do you got? I mean, there's a reason for that. Like I said, American brands, there's a reason everybody acknowledges them as everybody knows about them because they're the best. Okay, like Amazon. Okay, can you tell me a better service than Amazon? What? Alibaba? AliExpress? I mean, they're not bad, but they're not Amazon.
The insular culture of 20th century America has carried over to the 21st. Tightened border security after Septiembre Undécimo means foreign musicians can have a hard time getting visas. In 2002, the touring visa of a German orchestra was cancelled after it was discovered the cellist had a criminal record for shoplifting a pair of tweezers in 1991.
Oh, that's kind of crazy. That's kind of fucked up. That's insane. Oh, getting a visa in the US, I heard that's a struggle. That's fucked up. But once again, far-fetched, because the main point is why Americans are so stupid. I don't think this is the reason.
When they tried again for a visa in 2004, the cellist had to undergo an hour-long interview with Homeland Security and had to physically pick up his visa from the US Embassy. Global cultures might be more present in American media, but they're always through the lens of American characters, such as The Last Samurai starring Tom Cruise, where he plays a white guy in 1870s
Nobody cares. Tom Cruise is goated. That movie is goated. Nobody complain about this. What the fuck?
Japan.
He's crazy. He's a crazy actor, and they made a good choice for selecting him for this. You think if somebody else from a different culture that nobody knows about would play this role, anybody would be watching this movie? Come on, get out of here.
7 Years in Tibet, another American in China. Indiana Jones, American in...
Goated. All those movies are goated. Come on. What, would you prefer to have a random woman from a different background because that's what is up to date? Do you think being woke is good, making good for movies, putting random actors that nobody cares about in those roles because it's diverse? That changes now, and now people are more educated because of that. Come on, man, it's a joke. As long as the actor is good, who cares what nationality he has? Come on.
Egypt. The Bourne Identity, American in France.
Okay, so
Glorious Bastards, Americans in
but very good movie. I don't give a shit.
German-occupied France. And
I see your point, but I don't care because the actors that play in it are awesome.
for the ladies in the audience, Mamma Mia. For a movie set on a Greek island, there's not a single Greek person in the entire movie.
Who cares? Who cares? I don't care if the movie is good. I don't care. It's null vote. I make this argument null and void. I don't care that it's not multicultural. Look what wokeness did to movies nowadays. Have you seen the wokeness in the Avengers? It started with that, with the final scene in the end game. I had a friend with his girlfriend. He watched that scene where all the girls unite, and it was so cringe even for her. She said, "Oh my god, what is this bullshit?" And then it went worse and worse and worse. And now people say no more. Okay? What did that do? Okay?
Is there any hope for America, or are they destined to be a stinky, dumb, redneck country forever?
Why? Because they don't have a representation in their cool-ass movies? Come on, man. Now, let me be honest. There's a bunch of dumb people out there. And like I said, not America, not exclusive to America. And these people on the right, what the fuck are you watching? Like Trump? Have you seen the videos of him being in WWE? I don't know how he made it as a president twice. I kind of I kind of know why. Because of who was he competing against. That's the reality. Huh. Wow, you put him against any normal, well-adjusted American, and he has no chance. Problem is, there is no such person with that much amount of backup and money from the other parties. That's the issues. They choose the most lunatics in both sides.
Maybe. In 2000, 92% of the music in the USA Top 50 was American, making it the second most insulated market in the world after Pakistan. But today it's more like 60%, with Brits, Canadians, Latin Americans and Africans making themselves more seen in the charts.
I mean, there you have it.
Each year there are more foreign films nominated at the Academy Awards than ever before.
Okay.
What used to be an American-only pay-to-win awards show is now an international pay-to-win awards show. As social media platforms have an element of randomness in what they show users, there is a higher chance of Americans being shown videos from other countries, forcing them to take note of what is happening.
Well, there you have it.
It seems the revolution will be TikToked. I've been giving the impression throughout this video that it's all or most Americans who are terminally uneducated.
Why?
But American ignorance isn't as evenly distributed as you'd think. That study I mentioned earlier, when adjusting for English proficiency, income and education levels, Americans are really no different from their European counterparts, and in some cases...
See, like I told you, there's no big argument to be said here that Americans are much stupider than other countries. That's not real. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true.
Cases marginally smarter. Knowledge about the wider world even correlates to political views, and not in the way that you'd think. A 2022 survey asked Americans 12 questions about the world, such as who is the British Prime Minister, what does the Indian flag look like, and what this symbol represents.
Euro, I know one answer of this. Yay! Yay! Let's go!
Who answered the most questions correctly were committed Democrats and committed Republicans. Swing voters, those enlightened centrist chads, were the stupidest. Only
stupidest? I wouldn't go ahead and say that. They would just not care about this kind of matters. And can you blame them? Like, what does it help you in your day-to-day life to know what the symbol of the Indian thing in the middle of the Indian flag is? As a reality. While you are more of a committed right or left side, you would be interested for, I don't know, debates against your political opponent to show him, to flex on him, basically.
40% of moderate Republicans could name the US Secretary of State, compared to 60% of convicted Republicans. Only half of moderate Democrats knew that the USMCA trade agreement replaced NAFTA, compared to 66% of convicted Democrats.
Yeah, because it's in the name. They are interested in this topic. It's like saying, oh yeah, so the people that are interested in maths know more math than people that aren't. What? Are you for real? I thought the people that don't care about maths would know more than those that do. Really?
Also, I just thought it was funny that the more Americans know about the European Union, the more favourable view they have of it. So are Americans ignorant? Many of them are. But it isn't their fault. It's a mix of geography, American imperialism, Cold War paranoia, moral puritanism, and economic factors that create...
But the fact that they are ignorant, does that mean that they're stupid? Because the title of the video is How Americans Are So Stupid, implying that they are stupider than other countries. You think people are not ignorant everywhere because they also have different apparatus to keep them in the bubble of that country exclusively. You think it's only America that does this? Come on. Let's not kid ourselves.
A paradoxical nation that is both the most expansive empire, but also an informational prison of their own making. God bless you, stupid bastards.
Nice. I think Americans are cool. Point is, I started saying technology, he didn't even mention it. What the fuck, man? This is just a video about why are they so ignorant to other culture. Boo-hoo! Who cares, man? That doesn't mean they're stupid. It just means they're ignorant. Okay, I don't. Maybe there's a correlation between the two, but I don't see it, dude. You know, you can be smart as fuck and don't give a shit about what happens in the other side of the world. Let's be honest here.